Welcome to a new episode of the ISA Alumni Chronicles. You are here with the ISA Alumni Relations team. I'm Zach Muskin.
I'm Maya Curto.
And today we have a great panel of two Barcelona alum, which is actually, I'm an alum from there as well. So I'm super excited to ask y'all some poignant questions about the city, hear about your study abroad experience. So why don't y'all go ahead and get us started? Tell us your names, where you went to school, when you studied abroad, and how you chose Barcelona, which I know why, because it's the best, but how y'all decided on Barcelona.
Yeah, so my name is Ashlyn and I go to Arizona State University, and I chose to study abroad in Barcelona because I had always really wanted to further develop my understanding of like the Spanish language and being able to practice that. And then I also was just like really intrigued by the Spanish culture, and I had some friends who had studied abroad there before and they just really loved their experience. So all of that kind of just got me really excited about Barcelona, and that's why I chose that location.
I'm Natalie. I also go to ASU, and I chose Barcelona because I had never been outside of the country before studying abroad. And so I knew I wanted to go somewhere in Europe so that I could travel to other countries while studying abroad. And so I chose Barcelona because I took Spanish for 6 years, so I felt relatively comfortable speaking the language there. And I also just knew from people that have studied abroad there in the past that the culture is amazing, just the people there are so nice, and the weather is just amazing. And also I knew Ashlyn and a couple other people that were studying abroad there, so I knew that I would have a great time no matter what.
What was that like, kind of being in the city and getting around in general, going out at night, or going shopping or going to do whatever you needed to do, like going to the grocery stores? What was that experience like coming from ASU and then going to this obviously huge city like Barcelona?
You want to start?
I think at first it was really daunting for me because I am from the suburbs. I don't really live in the city. Tempe is probably like the biggest city, if you can even say that I've been. So I've never really used like public transportation, never really had that. So that was a whole new experience in and of itself, just like learning how the metro works and all the different lines and taking that. So I think at first it was definitely a little scary, especially like going to class by myself for the first time and just like walking around the city. But I think like the more that I did that by myself, the more I definitely got comfortable with it and would start going to places I've never seen before or exploring like new neighborhoods. And so I think that's just something that you kind of have to like get through in the beginning, and then exploring by myself ended up being like one of my favorite things to do. And like if I had like class that ended earlier in the day, I would just like walk around and see kind of what I could find. And so that was actually one of my favorite parts.
And Natalie, you said this was your first time leaving the country. What was that like for you? Where like while you were sitting on the plane, what was like going through your head?
I adapt to change very well, so I wasn't really overwhelmed at all in terms of like culture shock. It didn't really affect me that much. I was more just excited. And I think the hardest part was the language barrier for me. It was just a lot different hearing people speak a different language and not everyone speaking English. So that was definitely something to get used to. But overall, it was just really, really cool living in a different culture. And it was interesting seeing like the different ways people just act, like even physically, how they act with each other and speak to each other and do different things.
Natalie, so I know this is like the impossible question that you ask study abroad students, but what was one of your favorite spots in Barcelona and why?
Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the name?
Bunkers.
There's this hill that overlooks like the whole city. It's called Bunkers, and it is just like such a breathtaking view. It was definitely our favorite, and we would go up there sometimes, just bring maybe like a bottle of wine or some like snacks, and then everyone up there is just hanging out, and the vibes are great, and just watching the sunset up there was just an amazing experience. So definitely that.
Any fun but tasteful stories that you can share with us, or at least explain what those places are for our listeners out there?
Yeah. So, favorite, they were like the nightclubs, the discotecas in Barcelona that you always hear about. One of our favorites was actually Razzmatazz. So we liked going there, and sometimes, going on a weeknight and then waking up for like my 9 a.m. class. So it's definitely an interesting experience. And also like not going until like 1 or 2 in the morning and then coming back
I
at
was
like
gonna ask that.
was a huge difference. I remember the first time we went, I was like, I can't do this.
So you would actually, so that's true, that's not a myth. You would actually go out around like 1 or 2 in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, people don't start actually coming to the clubs until probably 2 a.m., which is so much different than in America. Like that.
Oh yeah.
Did y'all do homestays or apartments, or what was your living situation like?
I was in an apartment.
And I was in a homestay.
Okay, I was gonna say,
nice.
because what does kind of the direction of eating throughout the day look like? Like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like the timing for that
Yeah.
is quite a bit different as well. What was that like for y'all?
Yeah, so my host mom, she would buy things for us to have like breakfast in the morning. And so we would have 2 meals a day, and then she would always cook like a really big dinner at night. And so we were kind of like on our own a little bit for like snacks or whatever in the middle of the day. But I know that in Barcelona, like typically like there's like a later lunch more in the afternoon that's bigger, and then like a smaller dinner closer, much later than kind of what I'm used to here, like more around 8 or 9 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my homestay was a little different because my host mom was retired, so she wasn't going to work and having to deal with like times like that or anything. But we still did have dinner around like, I think it was 7 every night, my roommate, and then my host mom and I. And so, yeah, it was different, but it was like you adapt really easily, and then, you really start to appreciate it. So
yeah, that was definitely, something to get used to too. The fact that people don't go out to eat dinner until like 8 or 9, because I'm hungry. Like I was starving.
I'm hungry.
Like, I am hungry. Yeah, because then I bet from what I've heard too, it's like a slower meal too. Like it's not like you go out at 8 or 9 and you're like out, or you go out at 8 and you're done by 9. Like you're enjoying your time. So that's like so different. Yeah.
Have y'all adapted any of those things from study abroad back to, back on campus now that you're back home? Like the longer lunches or the later dinners or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think I do have like more of an afternoon like break or lunch or whatever in my day versus like the middle of the day, because I feel like it breaks it up a little bit better. So I feel like I did adapt that a little bit. And also just kind of like, I guess like the culture surrounding like work in general, like working to live instead of living to work, kind of like that ideology. I feel like I really have started to adapt that like coming home as well.
Yeah, definitely same. And also something I took with me is the siesta. I love napping. I definitely enjoyed that in Spain. That was like a nice period of time. I think it was from like 1 to 3 p.m., especially on the weekends. I noticed nobody is out at that time on the weekends. Everybody's just at home napping or just kind of hanging out, which was pretty cool.
What was a typical Spanish dish that you ate pretty frequently over there?
Yeah, so my host mom she tried to make some like pretty traditional Spanish dishes for us to try to like really be a part of like the Spanish culture. She made us paella a couple of times, which was really cool. But also another one of like my favorite dinners that she made that I was kind of like a little iffy about at first. It was like this huge plate of like rice, and then she would like fry up a banana and put an egg and some like tomato sauce all over it. And so that one was kind of interesting for me, but then we ended up having that on our last night too, because it ended up being like one of our favorites. And she said that was kind of a typical Catalan dish.
Oh, nice. That does sound interesting.
Yeah. I feel shorted. I never got that.
Zach, add that to your list for when you go back.
I know.
Natalie, tell us a little bit about the Onsite Staff. Did you like become friendly with them at all? What was your relationship like with them?
Oh, I loved the Onsite Staff. They were so nice and helpful. I definitely went in the office a couple times just to ask for help with a couple things. And then they were always so friendly and would always ask how my experience was going. And then on the Sevilla trip, I definitely got to know a few of them well, and they were just amazing, and definitely helped the experience become like less stressful and overwhelming. They helped just make it nice and easy and relaxing and fun.
Yeah. Good. That's good to hear, especially given the circumstances that you both experienced while you were abroad. So that's nice that you had that support system there. Ashlyn, we talked a little bit before about classes, but tell us like the biggest difference between classes back home at ASU and classes in Barcelona.
Yeah, so I definitely would say there's quite a few differences, like the professors, the class sizes. I feel like classes here are typically a lot larger, and I don't know if it was just because it was study abroad, but the classes were much smaller, and so like there's a lot more participation in class. And also like the professors, I feel like the focus was really on just like having discussions, really like learning instead of like, kind of like, I'm just here to give you the material and get out type of thing. Like I really liked the professors that I had there, and it was nice to like get to know some of the other students in my classes who were either from like other universities here or even like other countries. Like we had a lot of students from Egypt were in our classes, and then also like Italy and things like that. So that was really cool.
So we went to a trip to Mallorca just for a couple of days. It was the last trip we went on before being sent home. And we got there, we didn't have a plan for anything. Like we didn't know any restaurants. We didn't know anything about Mallorca.
The tickets were just really cheap. They were like 25 euros round trip, and we're like, okay, we're all going to Mallorca next weekend.
And then, so when we got there, we actually found out that it was like a huge annual festival was going on that same weekend. So it was just like the whole city was celebrating, and there was just a bunch of like booths with food, and there was music and like drinks and everything. So we just ended up like walking around and around that festival the whole time we were there, and like trying different foods, and we met cool people, and it was just like a really unexpected but really, really cool experience.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like those are the best trips when you go in with like no expectations. Like I don't know anything here, but we're just going to go and enjoy it.
All right. So this kind of brings us to the end of our episode of our show today, but I want to give you each about 30 seconds to give some closing statements in regards to why study abroad is important to you and why you think, prospective students should go.
Yeah, so I think study abroad, I really, really value my experience. I feel really fortunate to have had that experience, and I think it helped me a lot. And just like Natalie had mentioned that she's quick to adapt to change, and I would say that I'm the opposite. But it really helped me like really go outside of my comfort zone, and I feel like it helped a lot with like my own personal like growth and development, and like just learning that, like I'm capable of more than I think, and I can jump into these situations and just like adapt and meet new people and see new places. And so I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I took out of my study abroad experience. And so I feel like that is why I would really push that for anyone else who's interested in that it would be a great experience to do that.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend studying abroad to anyone who's interested at all. I think it is just such a crucial college experience, experiencing like a different culture, a different place. And it definitely helped me become more comfortable being independent. And I think it matured me a little bit too. And I think just experiencing like a whole different kind of lifestyle really opened my eyes up to the fact that there's so much out there. It's more than just, Arizona. Like there's so many more people that are out there that I haven't met yet. And there's just like a whole world out there. So I'm really excited. And it also encouraged me to look abroad for work after graduation. And so there's just like a whole world out there that I haven't seen. So
yeah, you might catch Natalie and I back in Spain one day.
Fingers crossed.
Do it. Let me know if you guys want any tips or hints or anything like that, because I moved back abroad after I graduated back to Spain. So feel free to reach out. Happy to help, in any way possible. But thank y'all for a really good show today. I obviously love talking about Barcelona and loved hearing y'all's stories. But again, this is another episode of the ISA Alumni Chronicles. I'm Zach Muskin.
I'm Maya Curto.
And thanks for showing up today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.